Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just say touch on some brief thoughts I have. I'm interested in hearing from the panel because this is obviously an issue that I think all of us are interested in. As far as an alternative, if you don't have overdraft fees, what do you have? And what I have is a line of credit. And I think that's a far wiser and sounder money management tool, and I'm not sure. I think one approach would be if the banks, and I think with the financial literacy, if we said to people there's a better alternative than overdraft fees, and I'd be interested in you maybe either in the questions or addressing, why aren't there more lines of credit, or are people not aware of that? And I will say that one other alternative to overdraft fees is not a good alternative, and that's an issuing a worthless check charge, which is a criminal charge. When I started practicing law in the mid-1970s, you had to take a certain number of appointed cases, and about a third of the docket in criminal court were people from issuing worthless checks. You'd go to a municipal court, and you'd find that was sort of the predominant charge. There were just people in even small towns that just for one reason or another wrote a bad check. And I don't think any of us want to return to that. The fees, I think all bank fees, we all know that over the past 10 years, all fees have either doubled or tripled. I think that's pretty much a given, and maybe that's not true. I'd like to hear if I'm wrong about that. And the other thing about the overdraft fees is they're all $34, $35. I mean, I think that seems to be the general charge. And when every time the fee at every bank is $35, you wonder, why that is. And maybe that's close to the cost. The ATM or either a debit card when you go in a grocery store, it's my understanding from some of the banks that you have a problem at that point telling people that they're overdrafting. I'm kind of interested in that. I mean, obviously, if you could tell them, I think it would be a good thing. Now, at the ATM machines, it's also my impression that you can tell them there. And I really can't see anything wrong with a requirement that you tell them that they're overdrafting when they use their ATM card. But I think some of the smaller banks may have more difficulty, or the credit unions, with this because of technology. And the last thing I'd say, and I think this is something that, how do we address this? The banks that are making money today are the old investment banks. They're making money trading. They're making money speculating, which can be a dangerous thing. The commercial banks are losing money. They may have a good quarter, but I mean, they're apparently not making a lot of money on lending, even though the cost of money from the Fed is awfully cheap. I mean, if they're losing money, where do they make that up? And that's so the timing of all this is a challenge, particularly when so many of our banks are losing money. I mean, yeah, they may be charging $35, and we may think that's too much, but we don't want to put all our banks out of business. So, Mr. Chairman, I do appreciate you and having this hearing, and I look forward to hearing from witnesses. And I personally am more in I think just a listening mode and be interested in your comments. But I want to go right back to what I started with, and that's that I still remember in the late 1970s when I would be representing somebody on an appointed case, and they would have all these bad checks. And a lot of times they would actually be in jail. And I don't think you see any of that. I don't think you see that like you used to. Now, I could be wrong. I'd be interested in if some of the consumer groups, particularly, whether you've sort of taken a look at that and whether one unintended consequence of not having some safety net would result in, people going to jail, and particularly college kids who many of them can't seem to manage their money. You certainly don't want a criminal record, and issuing a worthless check is a criminal record, which actually, in many cases, would disqualify them from jobs. So, $35 fees are one thing. A charge that disqualifies you from an occupation is a much more serious alternative. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses.